Alrighty, Shabbat Shalom, Miss Bakar. This is Moreh Medad Yahu Ben Yasriel. I want to welcome you to another Shabbat service. You have just tuned in to Living Branch Hebrew Assembly, and we are honored that you joined us today. And we want to just say Shabbat Shalom to all of our Miss Bakar. That's the family out there. And truly, it is always a good Shabbat. We pray that you would make this the best Shabbat ever, and that you would delight yourself in Yahuwah Elohim, and just, keep his commandments and make sure that this day is set apart unto him. And as those that are logging on, we say Shabbat Shalom. And we appreciate you for your prayers, your support, because this whole ministry that we do would not be possible without you. Now, I want you to keep this in mind, because what I'm realizing and seeing, we have a lot of new people that are joining the website, living-branch.org. So, some of the more advanced stuff, as far as teaching, we'll eventually get to. But what our people need most is to know how to live this walk. And we need to see examples in scripture, because you can have knowledge, a wonderful knowledge base and understanding this walk, but if you don't know how to treat your neighbor like the scripture has said, then you have totally missed out on what the Father is trying to convey to you. Because number one, he wants you to love him and put him first. Honor his feast days, all that stuff that comes with what he's told you to do. Then secondly, he wants you to treat your neighbor, your brother, even the stranger and your enemy a certain way, just because he said to do so. So what I try to help people do is work on their living. I give a lot of, try to give a lot of, stuff, principles and things that you might not have found, but primarily, we have to know how to live in this life and how to treat one another. So therefore, the Father, told me to continue on with navigating through this life, and we're going to do part 2. And I believe there's going to be a part 3. And we're going to look at the example Yoseph. And we're just going to talk. We're going to break his life up into 2 teachings because of how, there's a lot written about him. But hopefully we're going to learn and grab so much from it. And it's going to show us and be an example for our life. So let's pray, Miss Bakar. Baruch Hashem Yahuwah Eloheinu Melech HaOlam. Father, thank you for another day. Thank you for all of our Miss Bakar that has tuned in to us. We ask you, Father, that you would raise their level of thought, raise their life and how they're living, to cause them to walk closer to you and to be more like you. That is our endeavor, Father, to be more like you. Not more like the world, not more like other people we've seen, but we want to be more like you, that we can really identify you in people. We say Todah, Father, for the Shabbat, Todah for all that are celebrating the Shabbat, and even give us revelation on the Shabbat, on how we should act and what's required of us. And we ask you, Father, to continue to show us, guide us, lead us in the path of righteousness for your name's sake. And we say, Todah, Father, in the name of Mashiach Yahusha, Hallel to Yahuwah. Amen. So we're going to be doing Navigating Through This Life, Part 2. Now, we are still reaching out globally. I just, I have people contact me from all over the U.S. and from all over the world. and I do respond. Sometimes, if you don't get a ready response, I will respond. Sometimes when you get a lot of stuff, it takes a little more time to play catch up. So if I respond, if you sent me something I haven't responded, drop me another line. And I do apologize if I didn't. I thought, I'm pretty much thinking I'm all caught up, but sometimes things slip through the cracks, and I might miss something. So it's not that I do it intentionally, but drop me another line, and I will make sure that I respond. Alrighty. Now, this is our key verse in the life of Yoseph. This is the verse I want you to hold on to as we're going through his life. And it's some profound words, and many of us need to adopt this perspective because we're looking at life through the wrong lenses. We're constantly, why is this happening to me? Why am I going through this? Why do I feel like this? When we have to see a bigger picture, and if we're seeing that bigger picture, it makes it easier for us to navigate. And I can give you a situation that I was in where I needed to sell my house. This was years ago. And in the process, some stuff occurred that, wow, I was like, that I needed to pay a large sum of money in order to sell my house. And I'm like, Father, I don't know how this is going to happen. And I'm praying, I'm saying, well, the Father, he going to work it out, whatever happens, I'll just accept it. But I kept praying and kept asking, kept seeking his face. Then out of nowhere, some money just came. I was able to do what I needed to do, and the house eventually sold. So, sometimes when things happen, it's a testing of your faith. And if you look at it through the wrong lens, you're going to totally miss out on where the Father might be trying to take you. Okay? And we can see this in the life of Yoseph. This is what he said in Bereshit chapter 50, or Genesis chapter 50, verse 19. And Yoseph said unto them, now he's talking to his brothers, fear not, for am I in the place of Elohim? But as for you, you thought evil against me, but Elohim meant it unto good, to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive. So everything that he went through was to bring him to this point. Now, he had to realize this, because if he hadn't realized this, then the whole lesson would have been in vain. But he realized this, that people may think and do evil against you. And it's to come not to destroy you, but to make you stronger. Because when people do evil against you, you should be praying. What did the Mashiach say? He said, bless those that curse you. Pray for those that despitefully use you and say all manner of evil against you falsely. Now, the key there is falsely. If they saying evil against you and it's true, that's a whole different ballgame. We had to deal with that one later. But if you see this, that he's really working on you and your character, and building you and strengthening you and creating a channel. When I say the channel, so because many of us we've been clogged up, and the Ruach really has nowhere to go through our life, because we've clogged our life up with all these things and all these other thoughts that the Ruach HaKodesh can't even flow through us, because every channel that he wants to flow through, we blocked off. But now it's time to open up again so that the set apart spirit, or the Ruach HaKodesh, can flow through your life and show you that the things that are happening are not meant to destroy you, but they are meant to make you stronger, to bring about a good result in your life. If your faith is never tried, how can it be purified? So we've got to eliminate this perspective that the Father hates me or I'm being punished. Now, if you did something wrong, you sin, yeah, you are being punished. No doubts about that. But if you are working righteousness in your life and you're striving to be echad with the Father and the Mashiach, and to be echad with your brother, then all of this is simply to build your life stronger. Now, I want you to observe this. Understand the evil that comes your way. Notice Yoseph understood it. You thought evil against me. Not only did they think it, they brought it to pass. They did evil things to bring to pass as it is this day. Now, Elohim meant it for good. So this is your perspective. How are you looking at the things that are happening in your life? Are you saying they're meant for evil, or are you saying they're meant for good? So you have to change your perspective and see that Elohim is meaning it for good, to build you, to fortify you. And through this, you don't know who's going to be blessed, who you're going to help in the future, who your experience is going to help them come this way. So know that Elohim meant it unto good to bring to pass what? To save much people alive. So that's, I want you to hold on to those, what I've just said, as best you can. Good thing about recordings, later on, you can go back and record and listen to it again. So let's look at this. Now, I want to talk about the birth of Yoseph to kind of set this up. Let's go to Bereshit, or Genesis chapter 30, verse 22. And Elohim remembered Rachel, and Elohim hearkened to her and opened her womb. Now, if you remember, Rachel was the second wife of Yosef. And Rachel was the one that he worked all those years for his father-in-law to receive her hand, but he got deceived. And when he was deceived, he received Leah. Now, at this point in time, Leah had been bearing him children like nobody's business. She was bearing children. But Rachel's womb was closed. Now we're at a pivotal point where Elohim remembered Rachel, and Elohim hearkened to her and opened her womb. And it says, she conceived and bare a son, and said, Elohim has taken away my reproach. And she called his name Yoseph, and said, Yahuwah shall add to me another son. So, and we'll talk about what his name means here in a second. Now, keep in mind that Yosef is the firstborn of the one that Yaakov loved. So Rachel was the one he really loved, and this was his firstborn from her. So this rule right here would apply to him in Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 15. If a man has two wives, one beloved and another hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, and if the firstborn son be hers that is hated, then it shall be, when he maketh his sons to inherit that which he has, that he may not make the son of the beloved firstborn before the son of the hated. This is indeed the firstborn, But he shall acknowledge the son of the hated for the firstborn, by giving him a double portion of all that he has, for he is the beginning of his strength, and the right of the firstborn is his. Now, in this particular instance, when you search this out, you'll find that Reuben was the firstborn of Leah, but Reuben lost his firstborn privilege because of sin. Remember, he slept with his father's concubine, and therefore lost his firstborn right. So Yaakov didn't just bless the sons of Yosef because there was a reason, because Reuben lost his position because of sin. But we'll talk about that at some later point. Now, this is just some food for thought. And it came to pass when Rachel had borne Yosef, that Yaakov said unto Laban, send me away, that I may go unto my own place, into my country. Okay, and he put, now that's when Joseph was born, he was telling Laban, I'm ready to go now. So Joseph's birth had great impact on the family life. And I'm sure the other children saw and recognized this. So it's creating something here. In Genesis chapter 33, verse 2. And he put the handmaidens and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost. So now you're seeing how he's ranking the family. This is when he ranked, when he met his brother Esau. He made sure that Rachel and Joseph were at the back of the family in case they were attacked, that they would get away. Now, chapter 37, verse 2. These are the generations of Yaakov. Joseph being 17 years old, and was feeding the flocks with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel, or Yashrael, loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. So Joseph was singled out. He was born in Yaakov's late ages, so Yaakov had a special love for him. And this affected the family dynamics. When you start treating one child special, and you don't show them the same affection, then it creates rivalry. And some of this might have happened in some of your lives. But however you got to where you are, whether you're having rivalry with family members on your job, or just some people can have rivalry with people that are in this walk. Oh yeah, it happens here too. Now, what we want to do here, his gifting made him hated. It says in Genesis 37 and 5, when Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brothers, and they hated him yet the more. So they already hated him, but this made them hate him even more. Because Joseph, his father, showed him special love. He made him a coat of many colors, because this son came from the one that he really loved. And so, he poured affection on this son. Now, Joseph didn't lack in talents, and he was able to keep the flocks, and you can see all of this played out in his life. Then he was a dreamer, so he was despised. Some of us out there feel like we're despised, we're left out. We're a loner. When you have everybody else over here, and then Nobody wants to fellowship with you. So I want you to watch how things are elevated. Hate, envy, he's stripped, sold, killed, and murder, deception. So all of this stuff happens to Yoseph. Why? You got to go back to chapter 50 of Genesis. There was an end result that the Father had in mind. All this stuff had to happen so that his family could be saved. All this stuff was it. Now, during this whole process, not only did it work on Yosef, it worked on his brethren too. But ultimately, Yosef had to see the hand of Elohim, or else his family wouldn't have been saved. He would have enslaved his brothers and treated them harshly. But he saw the hand of Elohim in his life. And I'm asking you, do you see the hand of Elohim in your life? Because if you don't see it, Miss Baka, you're going to miss where Yahuwah is trying to take you. You're going to miss what he's trying to teach you. You have to see his hand in your life. And you have to remember, even Shaul quoted, "For we know that all things work together for the good of them, the call of Elohim." The good of them, because we love him and we are called. So you've got to see this. Now, you might not understand it right now why he's letting things happen. I talked to a real good brother of mine down in Tennessee. And he's telling me all this transpiring and all, I know where he wants to go. So he's telling me what's happening and what's going on in his life. And I reminded him of a dream. And I'm sure he remembered it because he got a good memory. I reminded him of a dream. Well, do you remember you had this dream that this happened? And he said, yeah, I remember. And so it's a process of how the Father works. And the things that he would take you through to get the end result, sometimes it's painful. Yes, sometimes it hurts. It's going to cause you to stretch further than you've ever stretched. It's going to cause you to depend on him more than you ever depended. This is navigating through this life. It's not going to be a cakewalk, Miss Baka. Because where he's taking you is so great. And he's going to get so much esteem. It's going to seem difficult. And this is what I want you to see in the life of Yosef. How he realized, he came to a point there in Bereshit chapter 50, that he understood that they might have meant it for evil, but Elohim meant it for good. So let's go over here to chapter 37. And let's look a little bit. Okay. And we're going to read chapter 37 and talk a little bit. Let me make sure I got this nice and big because I want you to see it. And Yaakov dwelled in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Yaakov. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the sheep with his brethren. And the lads was with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Yosef brought unto his father an evil report. Now, he was very responsible when it came to and you'll see, being able to manage the sheep and the affairs of his father, great at doing that. Now, Yashrael or Israel loved Joseph more than all his children because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably with him. Now, I hate to say this, Miss Bakah, but sometimes when the Father's taking you somewhere, he has to set you apart. You're going to be hated. It's not that you made yourself this. It's where the Father's trying to take you. It's not that you think you're so great and you all that. Because Joseph didn't ask for the coat of many colors. Joseph didn't ask his father to love him more than his brothers. That's just what happened. Sometimes things just fall that way. And you've got to see it for what it is. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren. And they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about and made oblation to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, Shall thou indeed reign over us? And shall thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream and told it to his brethren and said, Behold, I dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the stars and the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made oblation to me. And he told it to his father and to his brother, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? And his brothers, now look, it went from hate to envy. They were jealous of him. But his father observed Shema the same. Now, it goes on, and his brethren went to feed their father's sheep in Shechem. And Yashrael said unto Joseph, Do not thy brethren feed the flocks in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said unto him, Here am I. And he said to him, Go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren, and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So the father knew he could trust Joseph. But there was something about the brethren. It said when back earlier, Joseph brought an evil report. It kind of suggests that they weren't as responsible as Joseph. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, What seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, They have departed hence, for I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren and found them in Dothan. Now, where were they supposed to be? Look back up here. They were supposed to be in Shechem. But now they're over here in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. Wow. So the very people that are close conspired to kill him. Any of you dealt with that? They might not kill you with a gun or a sword, but in your instance, they could kill you with their mouth Because remember, the power of life and death is in the tongue. And they said one to another, behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, let us slay him and cast him into some pit, and we will say, some evil beast has devoured him, and we will see what will become of his dreams. And Reuben heard it. Now that's interesting, 2 firstborns. And he delivered him out of their hand and said, let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into a pit that is in the wilderness. Lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands and deliver him to his father again. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him, and they took him and cast him into a pit. And the pit was empty, and there was no water. And they sat down to eat, and lifted up their eyes and looked. And behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead, with camels bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Mitzrayim, or Egypt. And Yehudah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. So we're not going to kill him, but we're going to sell him. Interesting. And his brethren were content. Then there passed by Midianite merchants, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they brought Joseph into Egypt. And Reuben returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit. And he rent his clothes, and he returned unto his brethren and said, the child is not, and I, whither shall I go? And they took Joseph's coat and killed a kid of the goats and dipped the coat in blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father and said, this have we found. Know not whether it be thy son's coat or no. And he knew it and said, it is my son's coat. An evil beast has devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent into pieces. And Joseph Yaakov rent his clothes and put on sackcloth upon his loins, and mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and his daughter rose up to comfort him. But he refused to be comforted, and said, for I will go down into the grave unto my son's mourning. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midianites sold him in Egypt unto Potiphar, a officer of Pharaoh, and a captain of the guard. So he was sold. Now what I'm getting at, Ms. Pekah, I want you to see the things that happened to Yosef. Remember, when you go back, we'll go there. And his name actually means, when you come over, let's look it up real quick. Okay. His name actually means let me add. And the root word is to add or augment. So, I want you to see that sometimes in your life, the Father has to add adversity in order to add esteem later on. Because he's doing it for good. People might do things to you, things that you might think it happened because of bad, but Elohim meant it for good. And you have to see this played out in the scriptures, Because when you're facing challenges in your life, how you're processing this in your mind is going to affect the outcome. If you are saying the Father's trying to kill you, guess what? You've just spoken it. You just thought it. But you've got to see his hand that he's not trying to destroy you. Now notice during this whole process, when you start looking at Joseph's life, you don't see, it doesn't give a reaccount of what he was saying or thinking. But the Father had given him these dreams. And sometimes those are the things you have to hold on to. There might be scriptures or things that the Father has spoken to you in the past. And sometimes you have to reach back for them. That's why I write down my dreams. There have been dreams that I've had, and I'm wondering, why are these dreams happening when everything on the surface seemed like it was fine? But the dreams that I was having showed me beneath the surface. And I'm wondering, well, why I don't see this? But as time goes by, I begin to see and understand that the surface is not what we're looking at, but the Father was revealing something deeper inside. And sometimes he is warning you and you don't even realize it. Because sometimes we are blinded by what we see. But he knows and see a greater thing going on. And I'll say this, for those of you out there, you might want certain things to happen in your life. You might want to get married or be married. Especially speaking to Nasheen, the women out there, or young women. You got to be careful, and you got to stay prayerful, because the men out there are going to present the good. Nobody's going to show you that ugly toe that they have. They're always going to put their best foot forward. But you've got to stay prayerful, and you've got to really seek the Father, because if you don't, you could end up in a horrible situation when the Father was already trying to warn you, and you were feeling in your ruach that something, your spirit, something wasn't right. So just be careful, and even for the men, be careful out here. Because, just because, she seems good, she's making a good presentation, seem righteous, take it before the Father, ask him. Because he's going to search the deep things of the heart. Ask him to show you. Okay, let's run back over. Now, I want you to think now about, we're going to read chapter 39 and 40. I want you to think about these experiences with Yoseph and try to pull out of it how this could help you, in your walk, or where you might see in your walk, and so that you can better navigate in life. Because remember, the end result, let's go back over. I wanted to go to chapter 50, verse 12. Okay, hold on, Miss Paka. Let me get my verse right here. It's 19, okay. Verse 19. And it says here, and Joseph said unto them, fear not, for I am I in the place of Elohim? But as for you, you thought evil against me. But Elohim meant it unto good, to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive. So you have to understand the process. Sometimes you look at what you're going through as difficult and why is it happening? There's an end result that's going to take place. And if you don't understand this through the process, then you'll miss out. You'll get to the end and not see it, what he's trying to do. Okay, so let's go back over. We're going to read chapter 49, 39, and 40. Okay. And Joseph was brought down to Mitzrayim, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And Yahuwah was with Yoseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his sovereign, Adon, or master, the Egyptian. And his sovereign, or Adon, saw that Yahuwah was with him. Now, isn't that interesting? And that Yahuwah made all that he did to prosper in his hand. Keep this in mind. Now, was sold to slavery, but Yahuwah was with him. So you've got to realize when we're going through these things and things happen, that there's still a prospering part that we can see or should be able to see in our life. And notice, and Joseph found favor or grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put in his hand. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in the house and over all that he had, that Yahuwah blessed the Egyptian house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of Yahuwah was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had to Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had save the bread which he ate. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. Now, how are you going through your trials? Are you going through them kicking, scratching, and complaining? Or are you putting your hands to the plow and letting the Father mold and make you? Some of us are bitter because of what we've been through and what we're going through. That bitterness is going to do only one thing: create more bitterness. You've got to get that out of your life. Joseph, look, his brothers sold him. His brothers they hated him. They envied him. All this. Sold him for 20 pieces of silver. He didn't go into Potiphar's house with a negative attitude, even though he was sold. But he went in there and let the blessings of Yahuwah flow through him. His perspective, he could have went in there bitter. He could have went in there, why did they sell me, and why this, why that, and all this. But he came with a different perspective. He allowed, even in what was his trial, Yahuwah to flourish in his life. So much that whatever he put his hands to, the Father blessed it. See, many of us go through things. We can't be blessed because we're so bitter. We have so much hate and things in us that have not been addressed. So even when you're going through something, we should still be able to see Yahuwah in your life. Now, you got to step back and ask yourself, Now, I'm trying to help you navigate. If you're going through, what kind of perspective or attitude do you have? We got to see the life of Yoseph and pick up on these things. And yet it said he was a goodly person. Inside, he had to be inside and out and well favored. But some of us have let our trials and what we've been through take its total on us. And now people can look at you and see, man, they've been through something. But what we need to do is now go back and say, okay, Father, forgive me for that. I went through that trial wrong. Restore unto me the joy of thy salvation, so that I can, when I'm going through, have a whole different perspective. So that I can reveal your esteem, so that people can see you in me, even though I'm going through. Let's keep going, because there's more to come. And it came to pass after these things that his Adam, or sovereign's wife, cast her eyes upon Yosef. Man, look at that good looking man. And he said, lie with me. And she said, lie with me. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master woth not what is within me in the house. Woth not what is with me in the house. And he has committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither has he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against Elohim? And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her. Now, this is the marks of a righteous person. A righteous person, I don't care how fine she look, know that lying with another person's wife is adultery. And though she kept day by day saying, come lay with me, he refused, because he couldn't sin against Elohim. So sometimes you can be in a trial and you'll be presented with certain options, but the options will cause you to dishonor the Father. You've got to make sure you steer clear of those. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there were none of the men in the house there within. She caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And it came to pass, when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled, that she called unto the men of the house and spake unto them, saying, see, he has brought in an Hebrew unto us to mark us. He came in unto him to lie. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass, when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled and got him out. And she laid up his garment by her until her sovereign came home. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, the Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled. And it came to pass, when the master heard these words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, after this manner did the servant to me, that he was wroth, his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him in the prison, and a place where the king's prisoners were bound. And he was there in prison. Okay, so now somebody lied on him. How many of us been lied on? Oh yeah, I know a whole bunch. Now I'm not talking about something where it was true. I'm saying an actual lie and framed. So now he went from being over an Egyptian house to now he's in prison, king's prisoners. But in all of this, keep note, Yahuwah was with Yoseph. So if you're doing what's righteous and you're going through, Yahuwah is with you. Because he did nothing wrong in that scenario. But Yahuwah was with Yoseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, and he was the doer of it. And the keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because Yahuwah was with him. And that which he did, Yahuwah made to prosper. Isn't that interesting? See, no matter what you go through, if you are living righteously, you still can prosper in your trials. You still can have favor, commonly called grace. So now the prisoners, now notice Yosef, you don't see, and you're not going to see where he's bitter and cursing the father and asking why I'm going through this and all this stuff. It's not recorded. So we can't say he said it. We can't say he didn't. But by his action, he couldn't have been doing anything negative, because negativity is housed in darkness. And what fellowship has light with darkness? You have to ask yourself. Now let's read chapter 40. Because I'm encouraging you to see what you're going through from a whole different perspective. Climb the ladder and see that there's a bigger picture than just your trial in front of you. The Father wants to cause you to prosper. He's got an end result he's looking for. He's not letting you go through this stuff for nothing. It's a reason behind it. And as long as it's not a punishment for sin and you're living righteous, I have to keep bringing that up because I don't want you to confuse the two. It says, and it came to pass after these things that the butler of the king of Mitzrayim of Egypt and his banker had offended their sovereign, the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was wroth against two of his officers, against the chief of the butlers and against the chief of the bakers. And he put them in the ward in the house of the captain of the guard, into the prison, the place where Yosef was bound. And the captain of the guard charged Yosef with them, and he served them, and they continued a season in the ward. And they dreamed a dream, both of them, each man his dream in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream. The butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, which were bound in prison. So Joseph was a dreamer, remember? So you're going to see, how the Father works through him. And Joseph put in unto them in the morning and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad. So he kept check on all the prisoners. And he asked Pharaoh's officer that which were with him in the ward of his sovereign's house, saying, wherefore look you so sadly today? And they said unto him, we have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, do not interpretation belong to Elohim? Tell me them, I pray you. So Joseph, you can see he understands dreams. And he knows that interpretation of the dreams belongs to Elohim. So you can see he's growing. He hasn't lost sight of what dreams the Father gave him. And the chief butler told his dream to Yoseph and said to him, in my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and in the vine were 3 branches, and it was as though it budded, and her buds shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And the Pharaoh's cup was in my hand. I took the grapes and pressed them into the Pharaoh's cup, and gave the cup unto Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said unto him, this is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head and restore thee unto this place. And thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand after the former manner when thou wast his butler. But think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews. Wow. The land of the Hebrews. And here also have I done nothing that I should be that they should put me into prison. Notice he was stolen or sold, and he hadn't done anything to deserve to go to prison. He was framed. He understands all of this. So, but he has to have a greater understanding that somehow Father's going to work this out. And when the chief baker saw the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head. And in the uttermost basket there was of all manner of baked meats of the Pharaoh. And the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered and said, this is the interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets are 3 days, yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head from off of thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh from off thee. So now, keep in mind, where did Joseph say the interpretation comes from? He said it comes from Elohim. So he's got this connection. And it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants. And he lifted up the head of the butler and the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the butler unto their butlership again, his butlership again. And he gave the cup unto the Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet did the chief butler remember Joseph. Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgot him. Okay, we're going to stop right there. So even in your trials, Ms. Bakar, your giftings that the Father has given you will continue to develop. And I'm trying to get you to see this different perspective, that your trials come to make you stronger. They come to bring about a good end. But if you are speaking negatively in your trials, you're going to cause your trials to take a detour. And they're going to cling to you. Just like the children of Israel were supposed to be able to take Canaan. But because they chose to murmur, complain, and not be obedient, 40 days turned into 40 years. So he will hold you in something. until you get the right mindset. And this lesson is to teach you to navigate. You've got to map out in your mind that this is not for evil. Yeah, the bumps in the roads, but the Father is trying to bring about a good means in your life. And the sooner you can grab hold of that, the sooner you will see and behold his greatness. So we're going to stop right here for this part. And I want you to go back over this lesson. And I want you to picture how you can go through your trials better. Because when they do come, they will come. Okay, I'll give you just a scenario. I remember back when I was telling the Father, I can't do your work and work this 40-hour job. I just can't do it because it seems like I'm not able to study and concentrate and do the things you need me to do. So the Father showed me in a dream what to do. So I followed the dream and put stuff in. It wasn't instantaneous, but over the course of time, I was able to retire based on what he showed me in the dream. So now I'm in a position where I teach, pray, talk to people, counsel, do all the things that the Father wants me to do. And it all started with me asking. And yes, I had to go through some things, but they were worth going through in order to get his end result. So just want to encourage you today to see your trial from a different perspective. See it from, he's trying to take me somewhere to help other people. Because that wasn't at the end of what Joseph, it said that much people might be saved alive. Wasn't that where the Father was taking him? When you look here, to bring to pass as it is this day, to save much people alive. So the end result, he wants you to help people. And to help people, you must do. So next week we'll finish this up unless the Father says differently, but we want to finish looking at his life and what was learned, because there's still some more stuff that was learned. Okay, if you haven't already, Ms. Picard, join our bookmarker witnessing team. You can do that at www.bm.hebrewfoundation.org. We'll send you out free bookmarkers. These bookmarkers are going all across the world, and they're good witnessing tools. It takes people through why we need to keep the commandments, and there's also restoring the set-apart name of Yahuwah Elohim. So make sure, family, Ms. Bakar, that you take time out and order some bookmarkers. If you'd like to support us in what we do for going out to immersions and being able to bring these live Shabbat lessons and all the things that we do, handing out free bookmarkers, by all means, please, send a donation, whether great or small. You can do it by PayPal. This is our PayPal address that you can use, or you can go to Hebrew Foundation and you'll see this tool right here. And when you click on this, my online donation, it'll bring you to this page. This is 100% secure. You can do quick give, which doesn't require you to log in, or you can set up your username, password, and every time you come back and want to give, you can just log in and give from your bank account or credit card. You can actually schedule giving too, just in case you want to give and you might forget. You can do reoccurring giving. So now, if you don't know already, we're in the final stages of our new kids book, Hebrew 10 Commandments Illustrated Bedtime Story. It's going to be in book form, and it will be in ebook form. So be looking for that soon. It's a visual to help your children learn the commandments. All right, Miss Bakar, thank you for joining us as we're navigating through this life, part 2. Make sure you check out our websites, and if you have any questions, drop me an email. I definitely try to respond back. Hit me up on Facebook or text me or whatever means you have. Make sure you check out www.living-branch.org. Check out the website, join. I'm always checking that website. People are posting videos and pictures and different things. So make sure you check us out. All right, Miss Bakar, let's make this the best Shabbat ever.